adult material on a flash drive, and then
With company material too. Like, they were both there, left at the medieval time. Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel. We're a podcast about video games, anime, entertainment, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host as always, Joe, and with me, the gentleman who came out from the far west, Nick. How you doing, Nick?
doing good. Yeah, yeah, they, out there in the Northwest, they lean into the whole Bigfoot myth, pretty hard. They actually have like a Bigfoot center, probably more than one, but I definitely saw one. Um, I saw a brochure that was very well done about Bigfoot. They have a lot of other stuff going on there too, but yeah, uh, Bigfoot. They definitely know about him. So yeah, I didn't really read anything more than that, but I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I figured, you being a fan of the X-Files, you would eventually tried going down the Twin Peaks, Gravity Falls mine, like rabbit hole. But, alas, you still have yet to do that. And that's if being a fan of conspiracy theories, as you are, you're known as Conspiracy Nick.
I
That's,
am.
minus tinfoil hat. So, I mean,
uh,
we're waiting for those shirts to come out, but still.
I need to start keeping my tinfoil hat by my podcast desk. Yeah, yeah. I think the best episodes of some of the best episodes of the X Files do take place out there. Um, it is really beautiful. It is really creepy in a beautiful kind of way out there. Um, and I did actually happen to go by the Goonies house and get a picture with the Goonies house. Uh, it was it made me feel weird to go and take a picture with a dumb house behind me that doesn't have anything to do with anything. But I don't know. Um, anyway, so yeah, it's Oregon's a really nice place. I highly recommend it. I went over to Mount St. Helens as well. Only saw part of it because it was kind of rainy and cloudy, so those kind of clouds are all over the place. But yeah, um, it was a good trip. I enjoyed it, and I highly recommend going out there if you have the inclination because um, it it's a beautiful place. It was nice and relaxed in a lot of ways. And you know what the weirdest thing is though? The people, all of the people that I met and talked to in the service industry. So obviously I ate out a lot and met with a lot of service industry type people. And every single one of them, I mean, we're talking about from like nice restaurants down to just like convenience store clerks. Every single one was extremely normal. Um, the
Were you
fir-
expecting to be like all drug fueled raging because of like the
No,
decriminalization
just
of that
some,
state?
just like I don't know what it's like everywhere, but everywhere else I've ever been in the whole world, and I have been a couple different places in the world, the people in the service industry, it's a bit of a crapshoot. Sometimes you're going to get somebody that is perfectly fine, normal, and that's probably even most of the time. But there's plenty of the time where you can tell the dude behind the counter is just weird because for whatever reason, and it's like maybe he had a bad night or he's just something or other. Oregon is the only place I've ever been. Literally, I'm 100% serious about this. Only place I've ever been where the people are just completely and totally normal. The temptation is to say that they're nice. And that's the first thing I thought. It's like, oh, everyone here is like really, not really nice. It's like, no, it's different than that because there's some places I've been where they're like nice, but like too nice, and you can tell that it's like a thin layer of like niceness behind seething rage. Um, but these people were just every single one, every single place I went, it was just like normal, just very normal. So, yeah, that's what
I
I
mean,
have to report.
when you're comparing it to Texas, I mean, there is a
But I'm
difference there.
not.
So
I'm not comparing it to Texas. I'm comparing it to your neck of the woods and to where I live and to Japan and China and literally everywhere else I've ever been in my whole life. I'm telling you, them people up there in Oregon, they're normal and it's weird.
but then by definition, if everyone else was different, wouldn't the rest of us be normal? And then Oregon's just the weird ones,
That's what's
right?
weird about it is how normal it is.
So yeah, it's what you'd call classify as like when I met my in-laws, they were like Brady Bunch normal, and I was just like, oh man, there's gonna be like dead bodies in the closet or in the basement, right? There has to be some like the other shoe's gonna drop, and it's like it took me a long time to realize, like, no, you all just have a functional family that like actually talks to each other and likes to spend time around each other, and like this is weird for someone like me.
I
So
don't know.
yeah, this is
It,
very unnerving.
yeah, I don't know. It's just like whenever you go in someplace and and you're like you go buy some candy bar at a convenience store and you're like, hey, what's up? And he's like doing good, how are you? I'm like, pretty good. And he's like, it'll be 650. I'm like, all right. And then you just kind of have a normal interaction like that, and then you go on, and every single place is just exactly normal. He doesn't try to, the person behind the counter doesn't try to make it any more than it is, any less than it is. They don't act like they like you they're doing you a big old favor for doing their job. They don't act like they're like they hate you or anything, or they're tired. It's weird, man. It's weird how normal it was. I don't know how else to describe it, but
So
yeah,
sounds like aliens. All right, sweet.
they're
Now that
lizard
we know that
people, I
Oregon's full of aliens,
guess. Oh, anyway, but other than that, yeah, it's I recommend it. You should go up there sometime if you have the chance.
yeah. I mean, I've seen photos. I got some friends and family out that way. So it's one of those things that's awesome. They decided to move out there, and then they just never came back. And I'm like, so either you're in a commune now, or your life is really good for you. I'm like, just no news is good news. I'll just leave it at that. So
People also drive kind of slow up there. I mean, they still go over the speed limit, plenty enough, like on the highways, but not as much as like other places, and not like in Texas when you're on the highway, somebody is going to speed by you. So you're going 10 over, right? And they're going to speed by you going 15 miles an hour faster than you are. And they're not going to speed by you and just keep going. They're going to speed by you and cut right in front of you in order to weave between you and the other car that's in the other lane. That's just what's going to happen. And that never happened in Oregon. It was just, and people would speed, people would kind of go by you, but they were polite about it. And, yeah. Yeah.
all right. Well, I'm glad you had a good trip. And yeah, I'm assuming you since you haven't mentioned anything about the family you brought there, I assumed you just left them in a ditch somewhere. So next year, I don't have to worry about this crap anymore, and we can go to ASIN. All right, cool.
You're half
Um,
right.
carrying on, carrying on to let's see, the video games. Let's see. All right. Well, Nick, uh, what have you been playing?
Well, it's going to be a short week for talking about video games, I think, because um, I played this little game called Schim. Not very expensive. I'm sure it's on everything, but I bought it on PlayStation, and it's I think it's some Northern European studio. I feel like they're like Swedish or Finnish, Danish, one of those. Maybe Icelandic, and it's it's got a nice little art style, kind of a cutesy, sort of cell shaded, but heavy like ink lines. Um, Mostly monochromatic, but it changes. Each kind of level is sort of its own sort of monochrome kind of idea. Um, it's so basically you are a thing. Basically, you're like it looks like a frog almost when you actually get to see it. You're like a frog that can only live in shadows. And so you start in a shadow and you jump from shadow to shadow of object in pursuit of goals. And so I played this game for a little while and I figured out that really all it is just a platformer. And when I realized that it was just a platformer and not a platformer in the way that you would normally think of a platformer, because it's a 3/4 basically top down view, and different objects are going around, and so you have to jump onto their shadows, and it doesn't really have a very strong narrative, um, and it doesn't really. There's not really much. There's really not. I mean, the art style is nice, and the idea is sort of interesting on its face, but besides that, it's not really bringing much to the table, at least not at the outset. So I've played over an hour of it. I think it's a pretty short game, 3 or 4, 5 hours, something like that. It's not particularly long, and I, it's just a little bit frustrating sometimes, and you're not really doing all that much, and so I think I'm just gonna drop it. I mean, I looked at it, and I was like, oh, this looks kind of interesting. Started playing it, and I'm just not vibing with it. It's there's just not enough to it to make me want to keep doing it. And I mean, if it was like, oh, this is a 10-hour game, I'd be like, okay, well, maybe they're going to turn the corner and add a whole bunch of different things that make it a lot more interesting. But it's just not interesting enough. Like the regular gameplay, the loop of it is not great. And it's just a little bit frustrating at times where you're like, okay, do I really have to do this like this way? And it's like, yes, you do. And it's like, okay. And you do it a couple times and it's just the grind is not very satisfying. Whereas other games, it's like, well, I'm having to grind through, but the grind itself is a little bit satisfying. So I'm glad to keep doing it. So yeah, sorry to report that, but that is my opinion of Schim.
All right. I mean, can't win them all, right? So it's
Yeah.
I mean, luckily it wasn't a big time sink, so you didn't waste a lot of time to it. But not every game's for everyone, and I mean, it had a neat aesthetic. It looked interesting just
and that
from the
and that's
screenshots I'd
why
seen.
I wanted to try it. I was like, this game looks kind of cool. I know it doesn't look like a very long game. I think I'll be able to do be able to finish it and see what it's like. But it really just isn't enough to carry me through.
All right. Well, let's see. For me, I've mostly been trying to fix my PC because it's been on the fritz.
Oh, that game, yeah,
So
that's a fun game.
yeah, yeah, right. It's an expensive one too.
A little game
So,
called "What's Wrong
uh,
with Your Computer."
yep. I then Frankenstein, taking
It
apart multiple other computers to
it
get
has
those
a
all to somehow diagnose the right part.
it has a really
Uh,
big AR component,
anyway,
right?
yeah, and it even haunts your dreams. All right. But I was able to get it up and running at least a little bit, just to play a little bit of the new Helldivers update. And I mean, that was, it's kind of old news at this point, because battle for last I saw, like we won, we defended Super Earth. So the Illuminate, the concept is the new enemies, the Illuminate, happen to invade Super Earth, and with that, there's a huge patch. They ended up doing primary weapon upgrades, so you can
Mm.
actually start leveling up certain weapons, giving you more reason to play and customize. I ended up my primary weapon that I used to love, is one of like the two weapons that doesn't get upgraded. I'm like, I guess it was just too OP. They're like, no, you guys just deal with it. I'm like, man, of course. So I had to switch a couple different weapons to finally find one that I liked again. And but what does this is it seems like the upgrades you do buy for other weapons can carry over, which is nice. So I wasn't, even though I had to start from level one with my current firearm, the level three, two and three upgrades that I got for something else, they carried over, and I was able to use those. At least that's what it seemed like. So I was like, all right, I'm happy for that at least. Um, they ended up, I think they ended up having a bug or fixing, quote unquote, maybe people for stop using their Steam decks, so they can't use, or macros, so they can't quick macro in the stratagems. So
What?
I know the Steam was not subreddit, or the Steam group was not happy about that for some of those people, and it's just, other people are like, we shouldn't be cheating. I'm like, it's if it's one of those things
It's a
that are like, if
video
people,
game.
yeah, it's like if people want to have fun, it's not like it's competitive. That's my thing is
Yeah.
it's like if it was competitive, but you're playing with your friends. Um, so I don't really see one. I'm not one or the other about it. But yeah, I mean, some of the fun is trying to uh, call in a stratagem, hit the button combination, and you're freaking out in the middle of doing it because you're it's nerve wracking or something like that. But also, it's one of those things that it's kind of fun that when you get to the point where you just automatically like muscle memory that stuff, and you're like, yeah, I can just do it without really thinking too much about it. So anyways, it's been a fun little expansion. You got to see Super Earth, got to defend there. uh like, it had been a while since I had played. So then the first game my buddy and I went into, we just got our asses handed to us. Like, it was just not even it was like completely one sided. We're like, oh, we should have maybe dumbed down the difficulty for this one. We're no longer at the skill level we used to be. And then we came back in and we're like, okay, we held our own for the rest of the three missions or
Was he
whatever.
aggroing enemies across the lake that had nothing to do with what you were doing when you got back in?
Yeah, that person does that sometimes. But it's all city bound stuff. So like you're like, yeah, you can either do like New York or I think it was like a city in Malaysia, I think, at the time when I was playing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's still a fun game. It's still really good. The fact that they give you more stuff to level up, because I had just recently hit my max level cap where it stopped the unlocking progress for a
Right.
lot of things. So I was just like, all right, well, this came in just at the right time for me. And it's one of those things that I just play with a couple of groups of people just as a casual, kind of just like, we're going to catch up, and just kind of, gives us something to do while we talk.
Well, I mean, how long has the game
So,
been out?
anyways,
I mean, it's been out for a long
uh,
time, right? So, like
I mean, it's been out long enough. I mean, not it hasn't been a year yet, I don't
2022,
think so.
2023, 2023, maybe 23, surely
Uh, no way. It was early 24.
early 24. Okay,
Helldivers 2. So Helldivers 2 was like uh end of January or something like that, maybe early
okay,
February. Um,
early
so
24.
yeah,
Okay, okay. So 2.5 years, nearly getting close to that. So, yeah, it's good that they're bringing, that they're still supporting it, doing expansions and stuff like that with it. I mean, it's a really popular game, so it makes sense.
I mean the nice thing is, I mean, it took a big player loss when they tried charging for the Hellgas um
Oh,
armor or
yeah.
whatever. And so people kind of jumped ship then, because there were people, I guess, I think people were just looking for a reason to stop playing.
People always are,
It
yeah.
wasn't really that big of a deal, because I only played a couple times a week, so, if that. So it was one of those things that people got all up in a roar, a tizzy about it, and then they kind of, stopped, backpedaled, and then that was the end of that. But I mean, it's been steadily still trying to provide fun stuff, and it's just a simple game. And this newest, update wasn't, it wasn't charged or anything like that. You can buy credit, but I've not put any extra money into it. Um, So yeah, it's one of those games that, like, I know people who buy, some of the newer outfits instead of earning the credit, but that's also like them tipping the developers, being like, "Yeah, thanks. I've played, a couple hundred hours. Here's at least $20."
I mean, even brand new is like a $40 game, right?
Yeah, it was reasonably priced when it first came out. It was I forget what it was originally when it first came
It
out, but
wasn't very
I mean
much.
now. I still think, it's like I still think it's like either 40 or $60 or something like that. The $60 one comes with extra credit
Right.
and some extra stuff, but all that stuff I believe you could just straight up buy with currency if you earn it in game. So it was just like a leg up
Yeah.
kind of, but not really. So it wasn't even like it wasn't pay to win necessarily. So it was just some extra fluff. And once again, a lot of people looked at it as like, hey, once another way to support the devs for making a cheaper and fun game. And I think that's going to be the new sentiment coming out, like with games that are, I wouldn't say B tier, but they're not the AAA experience, right?
Mm.
They are, they know they're not going to be as long as a AAA game, or they're trying to curb expectations. They're like, hey, we're not going to be as polished, or we're not going to be as big and bombastic as you think we are. So we're going to come down at a lower price point. People are going to generally come at it with a better mindset, an open mindset, and I think that's going to win a lot of hearts and minds. I mean, I know of course, uh, was it Claire Obscure, Expedition 33.
Mm.
That was the big, that's the big poster child for coming out as a reasonable price game. Uh, and I don't know if you had that little tidbit in the news, but like they posted a thing like 33 days after launch, they sold 3.3 million copies. I'm like, it was probably more than 3.3, but it just sounds better when you do it that way. Uh,
It probably
and
wasn't
it's
exactly 3,300,000
they rounded
000.
up,
Yeah.
rounded up or rounded down a little
If
bit.
they
Yeah,
hit
it's fine.
3.3 ish, then I guess you can make the article. I mean, these news guys got to get clicks somehow. So
Right, for sure. But once again, and then you have Mafia, the old country. They said they're going to be coming out at a reasonable, like I think $50 price point. And then you had things
well,
recently in the last year, the RoboCop, Rogue City, that one, and they had the new expansion. They're coming out with a. It's I think the DLC is going to be like $30, $40. I think it might be $40. So, anyways, it's like that's the way to do it, right? Just come out, let people know that you're not a full price thing, uh, give people what they want, and also it just really wins the hearts and minds right out the gate. Um,
the
so
funny thing
that's it.
about Claire Obscure is it seems to be adhering to the age old rule of word of mouth sales. You know, that that still seems to be king. You can advertise all you want. You can do price, drops or giveaways or, viral marketing. You can do whatever you want. But the thing that's going to actually sell something is your dumb, inebriated friend coming over to your house and going, dude, I'm playing this game. It's called Clair Obscur. It's really freaking good. Oh yeah, that's gonna win out like over like everything. Is just your own group, somebody in your own group going, hey, this is actually kind of a good game. That's gonna make me buy. I mean, if you go, hey Nick, there's this game, and I think you might like it. Even if you're wrong, I'm still way, way, way more likely to give it a try. Just because you said, hey, I think you would like this because I know you and I know that you know me and all that stuff. So, yeah.
And it's an exception to the business model for Game Pass, where it's day one on Game Pass, but it's still made bank, right?
Yeah.
Which is great because that's everyone's always afraid. Like if it goes to Game Pass, they won't recoup their losses. The money they get from Game Pass won't. It's like people will just stop not play or not buy the game outright. Oh, and real quick, just to correct myself, the RoboCop Rogue City Unfinished Business, which is the standalone expansion that they're coming out with, that's going to be $30. So I mean, it's a reasonable price right out the gate. Uh, and even if it's just a handful of hours, that's a fun, fair price. I think it's a chances are it's going to be like my guess would be 6 to 10 hours probably if for that price. And if you're thinking like movie theater prices, that's pretty fair. So I really like the Rogue City itself, and I talked about it previously. And that was a $50 game right out the gate.
Yeah.
So yeah, highly recommend anyone who likes the franchise to give a look. And I think right now PlayStation still or no, that was last month on PlayStation. That was a free PS Plus game as well. The so yeah, I mean that's going to be the big thing in the future is word of mouth, but also just decent games coming out at a decent price. When
It's
with the backdrop of AAA games coming out at absorbent prices and getting people really ticked off because you have to really make a game worth it to come out at that new price point. We understand development sucks and all that and production costs and everything, but everything you can't just say inflation. Inflation's the reason because the average person hasn't gotten a base pay bump because of inflation. We all still get paid the same crap pay we got a couple years back, maybe despite the maybe 2% at best our companies might give us,
yeah.
if we're lucky. And it's like
I
cost of
mean,
living
you can
wages
blame
go up
whatever
higher than our base pay.
you can blame whatever you want. You can blame tariffs or inflation or the Green Party or the Libertarians or Putin or whoever you want. You're still broke. Just that's just where you're at. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's hitting you with it. Yeah, it's super weird. That the cream still rises to the top. If you make a good game, it's gonna sell. If you make a game that some people think is good, but other people think is not good, it's not going to sell, or it might just sell okay. So it's one of those things where it's like, dang, these guys made a pretty freaking good game. Lo and behold, you know, I mean, whenever we watch that thing on Claire Obscure about the the dev cycle and what they were doing and stuff like that, I was like, this is a lot of this seems like something that could be made. This seems like propaganda in a weird way, or just they're trying to sell it. And so I was dubious, but what I did see, I was like, this does look good. What they're showing me, what they're telling me, kind of the heartfelt attitude that they had. I was kind of like, well, this does look good. I still have my radar up because we have to see what happens when it actually comes out. But there was a lot of things in it, and I was like, this is passing the smell test for sure. So
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was my skepticism was a lot of nostalgia bait,
yeah,
and like turns out it was misplaced, my mistrust there, because they really knew it was like passion project, and
right.
it's like
That was it.
they really had the. I mean, they weren't just saying the things; they were truly backing up what they thought, and that's why when they went, the joking point was like, "And we have an overworld," and it's just like, I remember that being just kind of eye rolling and being like, "Okay, I haven't had a desire for an overworld, but it's one of those things that no, if done right, the nostalgia hits hard, and it really makes for those who back in played, and and yeah, once again, so good for them. You love to see, especially a brand new IP succeed in that way
Yeah.
in a world of it's like because like I said I've been guilty of it many times where like this is a fun game but I can't wait for the sequel, but then when the sequel
Mm,
or the third one comes out, man, where are the original games? I'm like, well, every time an original game comes out there I shit on it, being like, I'm like, it's okay, it's like a 7, but man, they have some good foundation for a new thing, because like the Ascent, I played the Ascent to completion and I really like that game, but at the same time there was enough flaws in it where I'm like, man, I can't wait till the second one comes out. It's just like, that was the thing, is I liked the first game, but I really want the second game to be better. And yeah.
yeah.
So all right. Uh let's get to what we've been watching. So what have you been watching?
So I did get a chance to go through and finish all of Andor season 2. So the long and the short of it is that Andor season 2, in my opinion, is better than season 1. But I think that season 1 has higher highs. Not to spoil season 1, but there's something that starts to happen a little bit about halfway through, maybe just after halfway through, that and it's kind of a mini arc there in the 3/4 mark that is really really good, and the rest of it is just fine. Season 2 doesn't have that quite as much. It just doesn't get quite as good. But overall, I think that it is better. Um, it's everyone's settled into their roles. The writing is good. I didn't realize this. I don't know who helped write season one, but season two was written at least in part by the same guy that wrote for House of Cards. And if you have watched House of Cards and then you watch Andor season two, you will go, oh yeah, I do see it. So there's a lot of scenarios in House of Cards where it's like they're doing this, but we're doing that, and but then they do this, and so we do that, and they don't know that we're doing this when but in reality we're doing that. So there's a lot of things, a lot of kind of intrigue that's built into House of Cards, and I can see why they picked this guy to help write Andor season two, at least because it does match up pretty well. Um, yeah, it's really good. It's really good overall. You and me before the podcast were talking about slash lamenting Star Wars like we usually do, and kind of how Andor is being like held up as like, oh, this is so good. I honestly think that this show is very good, but I honestly think that that Andor season one and season two be should be middle to medium high grade Star Wars TV shows or overall. Um, Andor should not, to me, should not be like cream of the crop Star Wars stuff. Um, I think that it's good. It's good. It's very good, but I think that there's a plenty of room in the Star Wars universe to have shows this good about different things, about different characters. Some of the stuff with the Mandalorian is definitely this good. Some of it's not, but it's I don't know. Like to me, I feel like this should kind of be par or a bit better than par. But anyway, so I did. So
But the
after
reality is, no, it's actually super great compared to the stuff they've been slocking out
I know,
lately.
and
So
but see, that's the point that I made. That's the point I'm trying to make is like this is like we should not stand for, and to some degree, people don't stand for like less good than this, because there's so much in the Star Wars universe to pick from and to go through, and a lot of those Shadows of the Empire writers are still alive. Um, to me, if the low hanging fruit on a lot of that stuff is like you go back to one of those more acclaimed Shadows of the Empire writers, and say, hey, uh, we're not going to use your Shadows of the Empire story, but what if you wrote us a new story that was the same thing as your old story and then we paid you well and we did it that way? I mean, I feel like it's like the manga to anime pipeline where it's like, okay, this is proven, it worked, and now we're going to put it in anime and it's going to already have a set fan base. I feel like you just go back to those old writers and you go, hey, we're going to do this, and then they make all this stuff, and then you come out and you say, and then you use it as a advertising point. Hey, we listened to the fans and we went and got some of that old stuff, and by popular demand, blah 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 blah, and here you go. And people are like, oh, look, they did right by that writer. Oh, you just, and it's a win
no,
for
see,
everybody.
that's a trap. That is most definitely a trap set up by the fanboys. Because what's going to happen is, because of course, notoriously post Disney acquisition, they're like, yeah, the extended universe dead. Everything else that you knew and loved and was canon to your heart and soul dead. Like that is not the Disney canon. So uh, what they needed, and then if they tried to say, hey, you know that great writer from this great story arc, we want you to try to make something else as legendary as you've already made. there's no way it's going to live up to the hype that the fans expect. There's it may, but chances are it's you can either at best it'll be on par. It's the best you could hope for from a Disney live action remake. It's like, oh yeah, it was almost as good as the original. And then like so that's exactly what it'd be is if you got an old writer who did something that everyone loved and went, oh yeah, well I already made this epic storyline for Star Wars, but now I'm gonna have to or it's that joke of losing your deleting your file, not having it saved, and then having to rewrite your paper faster right before the deadline, and be like, you have most of it, and it's not quite as good. Yeah, it's going to be that. Okay, that's the
It could
experience of
be.
Star Wars, and then all the fans are going to turn on it even more. And like, even though it's still probably really solid, it's still going to be shit on because everyone's going to hate it. So because it's not as what they did, because uh, legendary writing plus rose tinted glasses and the fanboyism like over the years, you might as well just cherry pick what you want from the old archives. Be like, all these things that we said that aren't canon, well, let's bring some of those back. Let's bring only some of them back into fold. We don't have to bring everything because some of that
They
stuff is dumb.
can't because it would mess up. Like I think that you've got to do tongue in cheek, like write a new story, rename everything, and when everyone knows that it's just the same story, just brought into the modern universe. eh,
Throw in a Kylo in there in the background because like they gotta. No, it's I understand you're trying to polish a turd is what you're trying to do, and unfortunately, the best thing to do with Star Wars is bury it, and then when everyone forgets about it after a while, they pine for it, and then the new generation of kids will be like who only ever saw like the last trilogy. They'll be like, you know what, those movies weren't so bad, and then you can bring on the bandwagon, and everyone just jumps on board and makes a whole new set of Star Wars things to get everyone else hyped, and then quickly bury that sucker into the ground again. That is the new way.
I
Don't
mean,
make anything long lasting.
in
Just
a,
flash in the pan, get a quick buck, bury it, put it in the Disney vault, and then when everyone's clamoring for it, pull it back out of the Disney vault and be like, ta-da! Here's a
so
remaster of the thing from like here's the XYZ amount of year anniversary. Yeah.
I mean, like it is sort of the Elmo with the fire behind, like the fire behind him meme, where the people who, whenever Star Wars got bought by Disney, um, everyone was like, "Yay, we got it out of George Lucas's hands, and they're gonna do it right and stuff like that." And years later, especially after Episode 9 came out, after Episode 8 for sure, but then really after Episode 9, the naysayers came out in force. Were like, "This is what happens. This is what you wanted out of your Disney Star Wars, isn't it?" And they were kind of right. But it would be funny. It would be almost too funny to pass up, to have the "that's a name I've not heard in a long time" meme, but about Star Wars. Anyway,
Well, I mean, well, technically now what you got, because they'd like to do a lot of filler stuff. So you can still do a lot of that filler before the most recent trilogy. So you can still have Han live while Chewie gets crushed by a moon.
mm,
Not spoiler, because it's not canon anymore. So whatever. I mean, you can still throw that stuff in there whenever.
the Chewie gets crushed by a
Or
moon.
what I remember being is essentially fighting on the planet, and the Empire's like, no, we're just going to drop. Like it might have been, I thought it was a moon, but they're going to drop a thing on his settlement, and it's just him screaming at the sky before getting crushed. That's what I remember. But then again, this is like back forever ago, like
Okay.
early aughts or something like that. So who knows? Uh, but yes, let Star Wars sit for a while because unfortunately Andor is one of the best things that's come out in a while. And no one's really seen it. No one's going to see it. And what are you going to do? You
I
got to
mean,
let it just let the whole thing cool, take a breather, come back in a handful of years, and then start fresh. Pretend
so
like things didn't happen. Try to get a new foundation, get some decent writing staff behind it, people who actually want to make a good story for Star Wars, and maybe you can get enough forgiveness out of the fans.
There will be no forgiveness. So one thing that Andor does pretty good is it does lead, in the Rogue One tradition, it does lead into like directly into Rogue One, like where Andor season 2 ends is the beginning of Rogue One, and then where Rogue One ends is the beginning of A New Hope. So I did appreciate that. But whenever whenever Andor season 2 ended, I watched the ending. I was like, okay, I want to see how it feeds into Rogue One again because I hadn't seen it in a long time, and I did. And it's funny to watch Diego Luna, I think is his name, go from being really settled in the role and very good at it to overacting. And I mean, at the time, I didn't think it was overacting. I thought it was, fine or good or whatever, but like peak performance, years and years studying the role, very comfortable, just completely at home, to like, okay, this is the first time I'm ever acting like this character. And so kind of, hamming it up and doing all this stuff. It was very funny to kind of see that go, like, this is the character before, and then this is supposed to be the character after, but it's actually the character from literally like 8 years ago. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. Now for me, uh, I was, mostly I've been busy, so I've been using audiobooks as my filler for entertainment.
That doesn't
And
count for what you've been
you had recently
watching,
talked.
Joe. You can't watch an
Yeah.
audiobook
Yeah, I can
unless you
hear
try
so.
really hard, I
I see
guess.
things. Close my eyes, go into my headspace. Yeah. Neuralink. There you go. Enough sci-fi for you. But anyways, uh, you mentioned a while ago, and I mentioned that like some people around me talk about the new Murderbot Diaries coming out, for that Apple TV show, I believe it was. And for me, it was the first book we talked about a little bit. It's a shorter one. It's All System Red is part of the Murderbot Diaries, and they're all like the majority of them are super short. They're as far as audiobooks, they're like 3 hours, 3.5 hours, something like
Under
that.
four for sure, all of
And
them, except for the last one.
yeah, well, there's actually a couple more after that. So it's kind of funny. I'm currently on book 5.
Okay.
So books 1 through 4 are all sub 4 hours long. And uh, they all take place pretty much immediately one after another. Uh, with some very minor time gap in between. But for the most part, it is just continuation. So it makes I can see why it would make for good TV. Actually,
Mm.
um, it's just like if it's continuous TV, not a lot of breaks. I'm like that makes more sense. Uh, Now, so since you had finished All System Red, I had gone through books 2, 3, and 4, which is 2 was uh, Artificial Construct, and then after that's which is that one's 3 hours and 21 minutes for the audiobook. Then there's Rogue Protocol, which is 3 hours and 46 minutes, and Exit Strategy, which is 3 hours and 46 minutes. So these ones they get better. So All
Well,
Systems
first of
Red
all,
is a
All Systems Red, I found to be not the most amazing thing I've ever read, but actually, but very, very good. I enjoyed it a lot. So you're saying they
it's
get better than
entertaining.
that?
It is entertaining. Yes. All System Red is entertaining, but at the same time, if you do a lot of sci-fi, it's kind of like not anything or
Super special.
too out of the normal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you're getting used to the character, you're getting used to the situation. But because these stories like kind of fall back one upon the other, there's a lot of callbacks. So being able to binge them is kind of the best way because it's still fresh in your mind, and they'll make reference to previous events and things like that. So it makes more sense. In Artificial Construct, it's the most, it's kind of loose, just starting the beginning. I'm not going to really spoil anything or go too far into these, especially since I know you're interested in them. But it's more or less them going on a journey uh, from where they left off, because it literally leaves off right after All Systems Red. So it's like they're trying to go on a travel, and then the things they meet along the way, essentially. Um, the conspiracy, there's more like mystery as they dive into things deeper between that, Rogue Protocol, which is book 3, and Exit Strategy. And like I think Exit Strategy is the most action oriented one. I mean, they all have action scenes in it. They all have decent amount of comedy, but it's very much, they have a long stint in the book 4 where it's like very much a suspenseful bit. So it's
Mm.
like, okay, it's just like one thing after another, hard, fast going. Kind of reminds you of something more akin to almost like the suspense scenes in like The Bourne Identity or something like that, where it's just like chase kind of sequence, or like constantly thinking, having to be on your feet. And I highly recommend going with the um oh, is it Kevin Freed? I'm trying to remember the author, or the voice of the audiobooks, and I apologize since I don't remember off the top of my head.
Is he the one
Um
in All
but
Systems Red, or is there more than one?
yeah, yeah, that's the same person for all of them, but there for these there's also like a radio drama version. They have like,
So
and those ones.
so the regular audio book, just with one narrator, at least for All Systems Red, that is free on Audible. I don't know about the others, but it's the radio
uh
dramas that cost more. That actually,
So the radio dramas, from what I've gathered, the Reddit fans, there's been a few of them they seem to not be as big a fan of them, and they also seem to be shorter as well. So I'm not sure if they're necessarily abridged, or if just the way they present them, they might just take out some of the uh, minor dialogue or something like that, or maybe the way, as you write a book, you would, you give extra context to the situation,
mm,
but maybe they skip some of that in order for the radio drama feel. Anyways, but it is the same author or same reader who reads all these books, and I like, so far I've been having a really good time with them. It's been, like I said, each book has, um, I think the story as a whole has been getting stronger. Um, Now on book five is uh, Network Effect, and this one is the outlier so far to the series, which is, this one, instead of being a sub 4 hours, because this one is almost 13 hours. It's 12 hours and 47 minutes. So
mm-hmm.
it is much larger than the ones before, and, to the point where it's almost the first 4 books together. I mean, those, it's just a little under that
I
much
mean, this
time.
is
So that's kind of
this is
crazy.
basically a standard size for a sci-fi novel. Maybe a little bit, like
Yeah.
a little bit shy. Like I would think that a regular sci-fi novel would be around 15, but somewhere between 15 and 20. But yeah.
Yeah, and then afterwards there's a couple more books after that, and then those ones are back to, those are lower in length, but you're looking at like something along the lines of, um I think it's like 4.5 hours and like 6.5 or something like that. So there's, to the best of my knowledge, there's only 6 out right now,
Mm.
and or I'm sorry, 7 out now. So, but yeah, because those first 4 books are really short, especially for time. I mean, for me, I was able to do that while still doing like yard work and stuff like that, just mowing the lawn, and stuff, just burning through those books real quick. So once again, I find them enjoyable. I know, like the first book was good, but it wasn't like, it wasn't like super great, but it just gets. I think it gets better from there. And
Mm.
it's also, you have, it's just the way they decided to introduce you to the world and the concept of everything. It was just a little different, and which wasn't necessarily a bad thing, because it kind of beats doing the wall of text narration of like trying to explain the world, or trying to be the fish out of water scenario, where like, here I am explaining everything, and to a new person who's for some reason doesn't know common sense or how the world works, and just, the listener proxy. And like, no, they just kind of throw you in there, and which I don't mind, but because it's I forgive it because it's a shorter story,
Mm.
and like I said, but it's still good. All systems read. But after that, things get more interesting. Things get better. Uh, and once again, obviously, it's not a lot of commitment per these, and there's no way that the TV series is going to get as far as book five. But they
Well,
have a lot of neat potential, I think.
I did start watching the TV series. I watched the first two episodes. They are 30-minute episodes. And I don't think that it's bad, but I don't love the interpretation of the stories. Um, I I think that so maybe the other books, this is kind of what I was thinking is maybe the other books get to be more along these lines, but I don't remember All Systems Red being intentionally funny. Like I don't remember
I remember you thinking about that, and I remember you mentioning a coworker. They thought they were going to lean into the comedy, and you were questioning that at the time. Um, so the first All Systems Red has it's a lot of dry humor. It's not like slapstick. It's more like it's the way I look at it is, especially since my like the fan base of books that I come through is like Discworld or something like that.
yeah.
Terry Pratchett, or Neil Gaiman or something like that. It's kind of more akin to that. It's like, but not done as well. I think that's the thing is I think their humor is just a little more polished, but it's very much that dry or kind of cynical humor, and that's what they try to come off. But I haven't seen the TV show at all,
I,
so I actually
so
don't know how they're playing it off as.
so in the books or in the book All Systems Red, there are things that are funny, but this is a weird kind of idea to have, I guess. The book is like this is funny, but you don't have to think it's funny to understand what's going on or to enjoy what's going on. The TV show is like, here's this funny thing that we did. Don't you think that it's funny that we did this funny thing that we did? And I'm like, yeah, it's just not that like it's just not cool about it. It's like, look, here's something funny. And I'm like, I don't really need that. Whereas the book was like, well, you think back on it, you're listening through, you're reading through, and you're like, oh, that's kind of funny. And then you think back on it, and you're like, that was actually pretty funny. Um, but it was not like the main thing. Whereas the TV show is going like, all the sci-fi stuff and all of the like intrigue or the problems that they're having, that's all secondary. Let's just work on the comedy. Like, for one example, I don't remember All Systems Red him being insanely afraid of eye contact. I thought, now maybe I could be wrong, and I might just not remember right, but I remember him being like annoyed by having to make eye contact and it's not his favorite thing. Whereas in the first episodes of the TV show, they make him having to make eye contact with humans as like a horrible experience, just like the worst thing. And I'm like, I don't think it was that. I mean, it was annoying and that's
So
why it was funny, but it wasn't like the end of the world.
So he hates eye contact, but that's his internal monologue. They don't make it show it. They don't really make him flinch. So I'm not sure what it sounds like to me, and maybe I'm misinterpreting what you're saying, but it sounds like they're making him like awkward around looking in the
Yes.
eyes. And he,
So they're
yes,
narrating
all right.
it
So
and then they're going to make him go like, just like, oh, just like
yeah,
shivering
okay.
pretty much.
No. He very much hates internally. He hates eye contact. He hates the idea of, now that I've actually seen, I pulled up an image and I'm like, oh, that's not what the helmet ever looked like in my brain, because they talk about being opaque.
Oh.
So in my brain, it was always a cream, like a smoky filled,
Mm,
like visor,
yeah.
kind of like the transparent windows you see on like yachts and stuff, or like offices where they can flip the switch and it goes cloudy,
Yeah.
but except for it's, in that brain it was always that color, but like see through, he can still see from his side. But yeah, he talks about how he likes to wear it because it makes the humans think, forget that
He's
the
humanoid.
spec units are, well, no, the makes well it, between, but also people think sec units are machines. They don't, but if they don't realize they have human faces,
Yeah.
and and they don't want to get attached, and like he keeps it business oriented, and also he prefers to be treated uh like property opposed to, and that's the one, that's where the kind of the comedy comes in, like when they try to treat him like a person, or like, affect any time of affection, he very much cringes at it. Someone gives him a hug, and he's like, like, I don't know what to do with my hands, what am I supposed to, kind of thing. Um so that still comes up, and that's a constant about him hating eye contact. Um,
Right. But
but he never became like socially, like, spectrum oriented or something like that. Like that's kind of what it makes it,
yeah.
and I can see TV trying to ham it up for that. It's very much a sitcom trope almost,
Mm,
you know, especially the way you're saying the presentation is, we're making this scene specifically for the comedy. And that the book is written as, the comedy is there, but it's dry. So it's meant to be like, and
secondary.
next beat. This is just happening. It is just literally
Yeah.
part of the scene. It's funny because we're not bringing attention to it, but it is very much, this
It,
person is very much annoyed, and he,
it,
he voices internally, like narrating. They are annoyed by these things, or the things like, my job is to keep stupid humans from killing themselves, or from doing, like, from ignoring my, like, that's his humor, just very blunt.
so
Um,
the other thing
so
about it
I think the
is,
writing gets better as it goes on.
well, I mean, my interpretation of All Systems Red was that the people he was guarding were out of their depth and out of their element. Um, but I didn't really take them to be. I didn't really take them to be like bumbling, like and
Okay.
moronic. I took them as like, okay, these people are probably a bit naive and a little bit silly, but they're they're really smart. They're just maybe a little bit out of their element. Whereas the show kind of has them definitely out of their element, definitely, definitely naive, but to the point that they're basically bumbling idiots. And that was where I was like, yeah, that's another point. And these are all things where it's like, it's not bad. It's just the interpretation is just is just a little too different from the book for my taste. I'm just gonna keep watching it, but anyway.
All right. Well, it looks like episode 4 comes out today, as we're recording this. So I will have to bum your code off of you or something, so I can get it, like Apple TV.
Okay.
Uh, because I ain't paying for it for myself. Um, but yes, I'm curious about it as well, especially since the things you have to say. It looks like from the titles, I went ahead and read to the bottom. Second to last episode is the title for the book one, All Systems Red. So I'm
Mm.
like, okay. So it looks like this is just going to be book one, and I really hope it gets a season two, just because it gets better. The things get better as it goes on, but it really depends on how they execute this, right? So,
I mean,
uh,
I think the cast is good, and I think that they're.
yeah,
I don't know how much money they're really putting into it, but it doesn't seem like they're putting an inappropriately small amount of money. Skarsgård, I forget which his name, what his name is. He's great. I think he's right more or less for the role. Um, and everybody else is good. Seemingly, there's a couple of some of the very edge of the show actors that I'm kind of like, they could maybe put somebody better in that role. But I think it's good overall, and I do want to get to these other books. I will get to them before there are any more seasons of the TV show. So yeah. Anyway, I'm glad that
all
you
right.
read those.
Well, yeah, I'm telling you straight off the bat, especially if you thought the first one was all right, they get better. So I
Okay, even
think
better.
it's worth the time. I'm happy I've spent my time with it. Like I said, book four was exciting, is the best way for me to put it. Like, it was fun to listen to, and I was like, it has a really good pace to it, and it's a culmination of things. So the stories are connected, and it's, or at least not as deeply as, they're not super connected, but there is a steady uh, storyline going through a lot of it. So that's a fun part as well. Uh, yeah, totally worth the time. Give it a shot. And until then, what are the news that we have? So we actually talk about video games sometimes.
Yeah.
So what do we got since the last couple weeks?
So a couple different things. I didn't. I was kind of have to rely on you maybe for some of this information because I only skimmed it a little bit. But Randy Medieval Times Pitchford uh, was shooting his mouth off about an $80 Borderlands 4 maybe, and then he kind of tried to walk those statements back. Some of the most damning statements that he made was that like real fans will figure out a way to pay for an $80 Borderlands 4
He might as well have been working for Sony, saying like, you can get a second job. I mean, it was
oh
in
dude.
that tone. It was very much the like damn it, Randy. Like Gearbox needs to just put him in a closet and just bury his ass because he is the worst thing that's happened. He happens to that company. He's the worst pitch person you ever like. Maybe
Pitchford.
CEO to CEO. He's that good schmoozer, being able to be like, hey, you want to check out my magic trick? Let's go to my private like room or something. I don't know. I just that dude should not be around the public. Should not be around the media.
is it
Uh,
is it in the
like
back of a Medieval Times?
I mean, they had their own private, like there was a whole lawsuit between them, the old accountant or something like that, and I forgot I never found out what came of it, but it was like there was
Wasn't
accusations
there?
of the private theater showing and having special guests and people that may or may not have been the right age to be there. So
There was
yeah, Randy
illicit
does
material,
not do that
adult material on a flash drive, and then
with company material too. Like they were both there, left at the medieval time. So yes,
oh man,
I was gonna say, I was gonna save it
look,
for I was gonna save it for the end of the bit, but I was like, okay, a one-on-one to Randy. Okay, Randy. So it's like not all of us can afford $80 for the average video game. Some of us can't afford to bring our family to medieval times that often because it's a little too pricey. And people like Nick can't necessarily afford the OnlyFans, monthly subscription base, and they have to go off the hubs and the video sites of the world to get their stuff for free to do their research. Okay, so yeah, it's one of the things that you got to remember what the common person is, and just because you paid a game back then doesn't mean your game is worth paying that much.
I mean, look,
Um, you
like
know,
you're talking about an era before crunch was not cool. So, you're crunching on a game and it's late and you're lonely and you just had Taco Bell for the fourth time that day. And, it doesn't make sense for you to have to go online again in your car and, fulfill the things that you need to fulfill.
put it this way: the as far as the concept of paying $80 for a game back, like a Super Nintendo game, like paying expensive money, like the old, it's always historical, like how some of the old Nintendo games were, even like Earthbound and some of the old classic RPGs. The thing is, that was more acceptable as well because there was less competition. That game would last you far longer than the current one. The player retention is way shorter now because everyone's popping off with a new shiny thing to distract you. And so now, when you only had so many players out there, you can come out there and yes, it might be a little expensive, but you knew you're going to be playing with that game for a while, and that was it. But
Mm-hmm.
now it's just like no, it's at any given time I can quick jump to something else, play it. I mean, the one of the jokes was the new Oblivion remaster that just went on sale on Steam. I think it was like 20% off or something like that. And that's
Oh,
been out for like a month,
yeah.
so it's already on sale. I might be wrong about the percentage, but it is on sale. So I mean, hey, just like that, a brand new thing that people really wanted, like just immediately went on sale. That's kind of hard to believe, but that is the state of it. So
Oh,
to the other thing is like you can try to pull what Sony does now with their AAA their in-house titles like Spider-Man and um Ghost of Tsushima. They never go below $30 almost ever. Like the idea of a $20 first party title doesn't exist anymore with Sony for the most part. I don't think I've seen, and some people are having a hard time with that. They're like, I don't want to spend. I think it's a $20 game, and that it's been out long enough. I think it should be on sale for $20. But instead, they're getting, like at best they might get 30, and some people are just like, no, I'll just hold off until later. So it's kind of
I mean,
it's a tough,
on that
like
point,
they have their analytics, but
on that point, I do think that there's like I do, I think Nintendo goes too far with this, but I do think there is like a, hey, this is a Sony game and doesn't really matter how old it gets. There's only so far that we're really gonna drop it, and I kind of get that. I think that there's probably a point at which it is like more than 5 years old, especially if it's around 10 years old, where it's like, yeah, this is last generation. This is like super last gen. We should drop it to 20 or less, because people who are ever going to buy it for 30, they've already bought it. They probably bought it at 40 and 50. The thing with Randy though on this one is that he has since tried to walk some of these comments back, basically saying like, well, all I was saying is that the game price is not my call to make. And I'm like, then why are you talking about it? Like, shut up, dude. Just shut up. Like, if it's not something that you're gonna, then like, if you're not supposed to talk about it, if it's not your call, then shut up about it. Don't be like, well, then, then you need to go out and figure out how to afford it if you're a real fan. You're out of your mind, dude. Like, just close your mouth and be like, hey, whatever they want to set the price at, that's what the other suits, the business guys, I'm a creative, they're business guys. They look at all the numbers and they look at the game and they evaluate the market and how good the game is. And if they say it's $80, I think that's wild, but they think that's the value, and that means that's what you're gonna come away from buying an $80 game going, dang, that was worth $80. That's why you spend it to me, but just keep running your mouth saying, oh, just
once
go out
again,
and figure it out, bro.
that dude has not done any favors for Borderlands, like since Borderlands 2. I mean, honestly, having them speak about the game at all in any context is always just a detriment. With Borderlands 3 was not the greatest received game for, the gameplay was there, but the story was not. A lot of people really disliked the way the story was played out, and
The dialogue wasn't the
it's one of those
jokes
things
just
that
kind of bad.
it was a lot of
Toilet
yeah, it's
humor.
based off a lot of the Twitch scene, and
Yeah.
the main antagonist was not, the twins weren't really good and stuff like that. So it's one of those things that like they lost their way, and but still trying to speak. Like, Randy comes out like a has been rock star. Like, yeah, I'm
Yes.
super, like my property's super awesome. We're super stoked. Like you don't have a diehard fan base, not in the way that you used to, and the landscape has changed. No one really has a diehard fan base in that sense. Like he's pretending like he's doing a console war like level event, and it's just like,
Yeah.
no, dude, you're available on everything, and you're available on everything because you have to be. And your fan base is not really that strong anymore. Your IP is good because it's like, only because it's like, hey, we remember they make a fun, co-op shooter, and that's great. But the last story, the last handful of bits, not so great. And every time he talks, he just makes a fool of himself. I
It's
think they
it's
should get any other PR, hire just some random GameStop employee to spin that gold. I mean, better than he could. So once again, he just, every time he tries to do something, he puts his foot in his mouth. He just makes an embarrassment of his company. But they're privately owned, so hey, this is his company. He does what he wants. If he wants to
it is wild that
make
he
his
still
employees' lives
isn't in
hell
control.
and ruin their careers, for sure. I
I
mean,
mean, someone needs to
I don't
explain
know.
to them it's
I
not
do hope his next
2008
game comes out
anymore. It's not
good.
08, bro. I mean, isn't that when like the first Borderlands came out? It's somewhere around that time. It,
Yeah, that sounds about right. I remember, like I said, I liked that game. I played it hardcore, like to the point where I did everything I could in that game. And then I quickly turned around and sold it to GameStop because I'm like, I am done. I have burnt myself out. I played with two different groups of people. I literally got the platinum in that or whatever the 1,000 achievement points on Xbox back then, and I was just like, and then they had rumors that yeah, we're coming out with DLC in the future. I'm like, I'll worry about it later, and eventually I think I bought it again on PC with the DLC, like the whatever like Game of the Year bundle or something like that, and I played the game all over again because that game was the first game was great. The second game was pretty solid. I've played that one a handful of times. I think I ended up rebuying everything for the PlayStation not that long ago, but for all of such a discounted price, it was like less than one brand new game. That was the thing. I got the whole bundle, like kit and caboodle. I'm like, yeah, that's that way. My spouse and I could go back and play some of those games because we generally liked them. But like, hey, they're better for the new systems. They've made some tweaks in here and there. I'm like, let's do that. So, anyways, I am a fan of the games, uh, but man, do I think Randy needs to shut up. So, all right. Well, anyways, let's go on to the next bit of news.
It's not 2008 anymore. It's also not 2022 anymore. And so Sony is sunsetting their PlayStation Stars loyalty program. I have a PlayStation. I've had a PlayStation for a couple years now again. Um, I don't know anything about this Stars loyalty program, but basically it was a little program to help you to discount certain things. They apparently used to let you discount PlayStation Plus membership, but then they stopped doing that. Among other things, they've kind of discontinued about it in general. Now they're just getting rid of the whole thing. Whatever points you have to spend by November 2026. So you got about a year and a half or so to do that. So sort of a bit of news, kind of a PSA.
Yeah, so the Stars program was most beneficial for if you have the app. You were able to pull up. They had special uh, goals you can do. They're
Mm.
like mini achievements. So they would reset often enough, at least once a month. They would be certain things like, hey, if you play certain games, we'll give you. They had like a little trophy, like a AR trophy case type of thing where you can look at your friends' trophy cases and vice versa. And you collect silly things. For example, when the Spider-Man 2 came out, the Marvel Spider-Man 2, they had a like if you beat the game or something like that, you end up getting like the sneakers Miles has at the end, which are kind of cool, but like you just get them for your trophy case. Or if you play Destiny, you can get like the ship or different things from Destiny to hang up. But then the really good part about this, because that all is just like fluff. I mean, it's like the PlayStation Home, back in the days. It felt like it was a remnant from that, because it's like PlayStation Home used to promise like, oh yeah, you can get your trophies you'll get would be able to be showcased in your house, But anyways, the big thing was part of these events would be like, hey, if you buy one of these games, you will give you extra points. And so if you're planning on buying a new title anyways, or like something that's on highlighted, you get an extra, currency, and those points could be then turned around to buy either straight out get cash redemption or credit redemption. So you get like $5 or $10, you know, PlayStation, currency, or you can actually use those to buy games. So a lot of people, and it's every time you purchase a game, you'd also get points as well. So you can do these little achievements. One of them was like every month play one of the PlayStation Plus free games. Just play it. So you have to download it, play it, and you get 50 points.
Mm.
I think it was like I think it was like 12. I think for like $5 of credit, it was like 1,250 points or something, and it was something like 2,500 points for $10 of credit. So I mean, it wouldn't be enough to do anything, but it's just a little bit. It's just a little incentive to check out one of the PlayStation Plus games. Or sometimes you'd be like, hey, a new game came out, Alan Wake came out. You get they'd give you like 200 points for buying Alan Wake. But also, you get the points for buying Alan Wake, so you're just getting an extra little something on
Mm.
top of just buying it, anyways. From
Bonuses and
that,
stuff.
I've cashed out probably like $80 to $100 worth of stuff.
Mm.
I mean, I ended up, only recently did they start discount. They had a few things on discount. One of them was instead of $20, which is often on sale for 15. But squirrel with a gun. If you had $10 in points, you can actually buy the game for $10.
Mm.
The other one, which was like retailed for 20, I got for $10 worth of points was Phasmophobia, for the PlayStation VR, and it's like that worked. I'm like, for that matter, I'm like, yeah. I was curious about the game. I got it cheaper than any sale that I could. That was a worthwhile, moment. But a lot of people can use those points to get like Destiny currency or other in-game currencies, or just in games themselves. So it'd be usually the equivalent points equivalent to whatever it was retail. So you can get like Stardew Valley was a game there, and you were able to get big AAA titles too. Uh, and then they'd have other like silly things like pins and stuff, like, which once again no one gets to see that, but I was more into the real, like, actual monetary value, and that's what made the stars program really worth it. Just to see like, oh, what else, what other silly things do you have? Oh, if you are a tournament player, you want to play, it's like join a tournament and you get some like 50 points. Like, well, if you like to play Madden or a fighting game or something like that, and they have someone like online tournament, you can join through there, through the system, and they give you points for it.
Mm.
Usually they have like a bunch of small things to try out. And yeah, like I said, I earned enough free currency just by checking in my app and just doing that from time to time. Plus, just also the extra points of buying things. So just, I'm buying games anyways. I might as well get something extra for it. So that was the nice part. Now that they're doing away with it, I hope they have something to replace it to incentivize buying on their shop. But it's just probably going to get screwed. They're just like, no, we're not going to cater. It's once again, all the companies seem to be less and less customer focus, and it kind of sucks. So all right, that's it.
Um, yeah. Well, uh, rest in peace, PlayStation stars. Um, yeah. So, if you're into that, then try to go spend those points. I need to go check and see if I actually have any points to spend on it, because I might by accident. You never
I
know.
did warn you in the beginning when you got your system. I said make sure to sign up for it, because it's, and to check it from time to time. But like, if you're just signed up for it, anything that you've bought in over time should have accumulated. But if you weren't signed up for it, then you're SOL. But
I'm
yeah, you might
probably
have a stockpile.
like
some
every
people some people found that they had a stockpile of stuff, and they're like, oh sweet, like I can, I can get like at least 20-40 bucks back in currency. So
like, Joe, I have 30 million points. What do I do with these? um, anyway, okay. So going on to the next thing. So Activision is putting in ads into Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, and Warzone in the loadouts section. I've seen some screenshots. I can't tell if they're moving because it's screenshots. They don't look like they are, and they don't look too obtrusive, but they are. And it actually kind of, when I saw the screenshots, I was like, wait, is that the ad? Wait, is that the ad? So maybe as unobtrusive as you could think that they would be, but regardless, they are putting these ads into the loadouts in these Call of Duty games. Warzone, okay, free to play game. Even though they're making tons of money off of skins and all that stuff, I can kind of understand it. But Black Ops 6 is a premium paid game, right? Like, I'm not missing something here. Like, you're paying money, and now you're seeing ads in your loadouts for a game that you already paid for. And
so I haven't seen the screenshot for this, so in my brain, I'm thinking it's Black Ops 6, at least for the PlayStation, uses the Modern Warfare client.
okay.
So it is literally like a hub. I remember trying to download Black Ops 6, and it made me do the multiplayer because I think the hub was
There
attached
was a
to it.
whole news
Because
thing
it
about
literally
this.
lets you it lets you download those separately, and then I tried downloading. Yeah, it went through a whole
Well,
kerfluffle. I ended up downloading it like
there was like a whole news thing about this where, like, you had to download Modern Warfare 2 to be able to download the newer games, because it's like all set up through the hub in Modern Warfare 2 because of the architecture of the way they built this thing.
Yeah, and then and plus
I
if you
thought they
had the
changed
games
it.
all
Yeah.
digitally, if you had it all digitally, then you could theoretically jump from one game to another at any time that you wanted, because of course that's how the fan base likes to play those campaigns. It made no sense. It was a but being this segmented, thing, it's almost like Windows, the old Windows tile system for the
Mm.
Vista or whatever, like, or when they were
Oh,
trying to do tablets. So
didn't
it's
you
like you
love
have your
that?
different tile structure. Yeah, it's like, oh, so this is the multiplayer. This is Warzone. This is a different online thing. This is for Call of Duty Modern Warfare. This one's for Black Ops 6. And I'm like, it was just a menu within menu to get to what you wanted, and all I wanted to do was play a stupid campaign. And so it's like, hey, checking your status, checking your information, loaded to the thing. Oh, we're checking your information again. I'm like, dude, just stop. I mean, the fact that they came out the one year with pretty much just online only, I'm like, we should, like, them and Rockstar, they had come out, like Rockstar has their GTA 5 online only. You can pay a certain amount for that. I'm like, how about you do the opposite then? How about you just let me pay a lesser amount
Mm.
for just the campaign?
Wait a
Like,
minute.
I would
Less?
love that.
No. Less money? No, that's not how it
Yeah.
works. So this is
Obviously, anyone who wants to play the campaign wants to play multiplayer. No.
this is one of the things that I rail on that that I foresee when I put my tinfoil hat on and look into the future at our nightmare future scenarios. What they want, and by they I mean Netflix, Activision, all of the companies that have your eyeballs, or that have you by the eyeballs, um, what they want is for you to pay money and watch advertisements. That is what they want. And they're slowly but surely trying to figure out ways to make that, to normalize that. There's already all kinds of things with like Netflix or whatever. It's like, pay this much for limited ads, pay this much, or pay zero for like full ads and all that stuff. Eventually, they're going to make it to where it's like you can pay an exorbitant amount of money to watch no ads at all, or you can pay some money. Like that's just the way that everything's headed, and I take this as another step in that direction, and that's all I'm
Yeah.
going to say about it.
Burnout Paradise did it best, where they had the billboards, and then you had, the billboards having certain, it's a game, and then you're driving through the streets. Billboards, put your ads on the billboards. I'm fine with that. That's stupid. It's kind of like the subtle nod and wink. It's less obtrusive, I think, than
At least
a
it's
movie
like
where they put down the can of Coke right on the,
it
as
was Dr.
the
Pepper.
side third. Yeah,
It was
you
Dr.
know,
Pepper in Spider-Man 1, and he shoots the can, and it's like,
it's in
the
so many movies, man.
yeah, I mean they do it, they like they do it in a bunch, and that is not great, but at least it doesn't have to take you out of the game. Like, yeah, like you're right. Like Burnout Paradise. Well, there's gonna be billboards because we're driving through cities, so there's gonna be billboards everywhere, like normal life. So we're just like art imitates life, right? And it's like, oh, that's kind of funny. You're still seeing the ad, but it doesn't take you out of the game. But you're still seeing the ad. Very rarely can you do that, but it's cool when you can. And I don't mind ads. I mean, I hate them, but I don't mind it if I don't have to pay for them. That is where I am like, that's where I am like scorched earth on these companies. Is like, if you guys start making me pay to watch advertisements, I'm gonna freak out. I'm gonna freak out. I'm just gonna quit watching your stuff. But anyway,
All
the
right.
the last thing that I did want to talk about here is, so there is up to 3 now, as of the recording of this podcast, 3 Persona 4 voice actors have, apropos of nothing, come forward and said via Blue Sky, Twitter, whatever, that they won't be returning for the voice acting for the unannounced Persona 4 remake. and it's been weird that they're saying that they are not returning for it when nobody even knows about it happening, or officially it's not officially happening. So somebody did the hard research on, I think this was on Twitter that I was seeing this, and they concluded that the order in which these voice actors have announced that they won't be returning is the same order that you recruit them in the game for Persona 4. And they concluded that these people will definitely be in the game because they are saying that they won't be in the game. This person is at Ray is my name too. So RE is my name too. And I think that I think that they have a good chance to be right. I think this is like this person is saying that it's definitely a marketing stunt. Because of the order that it's been in, it does seem like a marketing stunt to me, especially since like the voices are like, that game is great for many, 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 many reasons, but the voice acting is amazing, and a big draw for the game, and one of the main things people remember about it. And also, I'm sorry, but you can't not have Chie. Like, I don't know what. Chie is best girl, and you can't not have that voice actress voice act Chie. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, my thought is it's like now the current landscape. I'm like, and we hope that this is all just a setup, right? And then it's like, but then the real truth bomb is going to be like, and Atlas replaces them all with AI. So that's the dystopian future we're now in. Like, we are now in the shadowverse of the Persona world where everything is upside down wrong, and like greed takes all or whatever. It's just like, yeah, this is so fingers crossed that's not the case, because yes, we'll see what happens, I guess. Persona 4, if they do a full remake like they did with Persona 3, like that was pretty well done, and I would welcome something like that.
I think that they
Pretty much.
probably, people love Persona 3 and stuff like that, but you remake, this is so stupid to say this, you remake Persona 3 so that you can remake Persona 4. Persona 4 is, I need to go back and play Persona 3 to give it a good fair shake, and all that stuff. But Persona 4, for many, many reasons, has a very special place in my heart. And I know I've said this a lot on the podcast, so I won't go into it too much. But if they do end up remaking it in all of its original voice actor glory, or as much as they can, and then up-res it and add some other frills and stuff, then I was telling you before the podcast, I was like, that will be a very hard game for me to not buy. So, yeah.
All right. Well, if you made it to this far, thank you. And why? So, we appreciate it. It's, a little rusty. We've been away for a while, and we'll be back to our regular weekly format. Well, Nick, what are some words of wisdom for you, for the people out there? See, told you I've been rusty.
Um, if you see a man in the woods and he doesn't look normal, don't report it.
All right. Well, until next time, y'all take it easy.
Bye.